Can you please start with your name, age and occupation?
My name is Lynette Graham. I was a Hutchison prior to that, and my family comes from Port Lincoln in South Australia. I'm 52 years old, and I actually work at a primary school as the Aboriginal Community Education Officer.
Are you currently connected to any Aboriginal groups?
I am. I'm connected to the Aboriginal Primary Healthcare Unit. I'm a member of them. I'm also on the Elders Register of the Nullanjeri Nation in South Australia. I am in a singing group called the Nullanjeri Mimina Kaiklan, and we perform cultural songs and language around our area and outside of the Nullanjeri Nation as well.
Have you ever personally experienced racism?
Several times, as you can well imagine. I think my first time I experienced racism was when I was in high school. I was 14 years old, and I got called the local Lubra, and I didn't know what it meant. So I went home and asked my mum. I said, "Mum, I got called this really strange name, and what's Lubra? What does it mean?" And she told me it means a black fellow woman. And I'm thinking, and it was a bit of a conflict for me because my father died when I was 6, and my mother was left a widow with 10 Aboriginal children, but my mother was an English lady. So to cut a long story short, I had a brother and a sister, 22-month-old twins who were taken from us, and my mother never got over losing her 2 children, and we moved around a lot as we were growing up, and she brought us up to believe that we were Maoris and denied us our Aboriginal heritage because she was just so terrified that the authorities would still come and take us. So it didn't make sense to me that they were calling me a black girl when I thought I was a Maori. So it was quite conflicting for me. And then my mother was really great, and she just told me that I needed to feel sorry for them because, you know, they just didn't understand and they were very ignorant. But I've experienced it even within the own Aboriginal community, because that I'm living in now, even because in some areas they know I'm Aboriginal, but because I'm a descendant of the Nullanjeri Nation, they don't acknowledge me as a Nullanjeri person. Some of the community, not all of them, but some of them are. So it can get very controversial even within the own community that you live in.
Wow. Was there a period in your life where this racism was most frequent?
Throughout when my children were going to school, probably it was when I noticed it probably a lot more because I was a lot very protective of my children. I hadn't identified. I knew I was Aboriginal only about 15 years ago, 16 years ago, so it was a bit conflicting, and I still didn't understand why, you know, I'm getting all these racial comments. But I remember distinctly when my little boy started school, you know, 5 years old, and he came home from school very upset because one little girl wasn't let to play with him because he was the black boy. And he was very hurt. And I just told him, I said that he had to feel sorry for that girl. And he was very upset. Why should I feel sorry for her? And I told him that she was missing out on getting to know a really terrific kid. So, and he says, "Yeah, I am terrific, and I said, "Yes, you are." So, you know, what do you say to a little, boy who's really upset because, you know, they wouldn't play with him because of his colour of his skin? So, and we experienced similar things as the children were growing up. But, I know, because my mother was a Western lady and she brought us up as Christian people and with Western beliefs and knowing us probably our Aboriginal culture, I didn't know any better, so I didn't really question it anyway. And as an adult, I know now why my mother did it, but when I was growing up, I didn't know that.
Do you believe these attitudes in school and for when your child was at school, do you think they've changed?
Where I am, I'm really lucky because we're very accepting at our school. We've got a very diverse school too. There's lots of different multiculturals there. We've got Sudanese, we've got Turkish children, we've got Islamic, we've got a very strong Maori community there, we've got Singapore's, and there's, like I said, it's a very diverse community there, and so I'm really lucky where I work that they're very, very accepting. However, saying that, the parents are not as accepting. I remember quite distinctly 4 years ago I was doing a special assembly for Reconciliation Week, and a father came in and said to me he couldn't understand, why we were doing it, and it was his children were very upset because he'd taught them to say sorry for something that they had done wrong, and they couldn't understand why they had to say sorry. But I actually responded to the father by saying, I'm really sorry that your children were upset. How did you cope with that? What did you say to your children? And I actually put it back on him, and he says, well, I just said that they didn't need to say sorry. And I says, it's not about politics, it's about understanding. And that's all I wanted. And I said, with the little children, you don't make it about politics, you just make it about accepting people for who they are. And I didn't, I just said it to him that way. And my main focus was the fact that I was upset that his children were upset, but I wanted him to actually answer the question and not me.
Have you ever received a negative response while trying to get to know someone from a different culture or race?
I just recently did my practicum at a local centre, and I was in the staff room, and I don't think they realised that I was an Aboriginal worker there. And this lady said to me, once she realised I was Aboriginal, she says, so are you a half caste? Oh. And I looked at her and I'm going, no, I'm Aboriginal. And she just looked rather confused, and I said, well, I'll refer to the story in the Bible. And I said, I'm not being derogative though, is that then there was the baby, and both parents were fighting over the baby, and they were going to chop it in half. I said, who has what half? So what half of me is black and what half of me is white? I said, either you're Aboriginal or you're not. And she goes, oh, like that is it? And I said, well, there's a lot of stigmatism in community, unfortunately, in society about being Aboriginal. And my response is, do you think I would say I was Aboriginal and take all the criticism and racism and other comments that come with it if I wasn't?
That's right.
So.
Do you believe Australia is a racist nation?
Yeah, but not just Aboriginals, to a lot of cultures, I would say, and that's only through the unknown, the fear of the unknown, and not wanting to know, and a lot of the media, I think, play a big role in that. They stereotype and they. I've had this debate with many people that they only tell you what they want you to know and hear, and you can't believe everything you see and read.
No.
They don't feed you little bits of it.
What effects has this discrimination had on you, either directly or indirectly?
A lot of ways it's made me stronger. It's made me more accepting of others. I am very protective of people, regardless of what race, as to being discriminated against. But I'm very hurt at times. I'm very confused at times. But I pick myself up and keep going because someone has to.
Do you feel prejudiced attitudes towards Aboriginal people changed after the national apology?
I think so, yeah. A lot of the nation now actually, I believe, are actually realising the pain and the suffering that Aboriginal people went through to get to where they are now. I did have, last Australia Day, a conversation on Facebook with a colleague and who had lived in an Aboriginal community, and I was just reposting a little picture, and it said, remembering those who, and of the Aboriginal elders of our past, and what they went through to make this nation what it is now. And it was just respecting my elders more than anything else. And she got very indignant, and she said, no, you need to let go. And I said, well, no, you need to know your history and understand the horrible things that happened to the Aboriginal people prior to make this nation what it is now. And she said, "Oh no, I've lived up north, and I lived in an out, an out remote community, so I know what it's like." And my response to that was, living in an Aboriginal community doesn't make you understand what it's like to be an Aboriginal. You need to actually be an Aboriginal to really understand fully the spiritual